Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 horror movies that are free to watch right now on YouTube. And with that, let's get to the list.
Don't look down!
The Pyramid is a 2014 found footage horror movie. Directed by Gregory Levasseur in his directorial debut, it stars Ashley Henshaw, Denise O'Hare, and James Buckley. An archaeological team attempts to unlock the secrets of a lost pyramid, only to find themselves being hunted by an insidious creature.
What's happening?
We have to back out of here one at a time.
Oh my god.
So this one doesn't get talked about pretty much at all, but it's a fun little movie. What I really like about it is the setting. It's claustrophobic and creepy as hell. The underground atmosphere always works so well in horror, and this does a great job with that, leaning into it, making great use of it. It's great at mixing together this mysterious ancient mystery with survival horror, and so it just keeps you really engaged and hooked the entire movie. But yeah, this is not a perfect movie by any means. Some of the acting doesn't all exactly hold up, and it is a bit cheesy at times, but I still think it's really entertaining. And either way, it's one of those movies that's much better than people give it credit for.
Greg and I met when we were 10 years old, and we became like brothers.
And we met through like a magazine, fantastic magazine. So since the beginning, we are sharing this passion for like horror movie, fantastic movie.
We spent the last 25 years side by side, watching all the movies together and walking together. We have a way of walking where we don't even need to discuss everything because we most of the time have the same vision, and when we don't have the same vision, it's really for the best. So it was really like a very obvious way of making this movie.
But it's not one to overthink at all. It's just a fun popcorn kind of horror movie. But I think if you're a fan of found footage horror and have yet to see this one, do yourself a favor and check it out right now while it's streaming for free on YouTube.
Hello?
Pyewacket is a 2017 Canadian horror movie, written and directed by Adam McDonald. It stars Laurie Holden and Nicole Munoz. A frustrated, angst-ridden teen girl awakens something in the woods when she naively performs an occult ritual to evoke a witch to kill her mother.
Darkness, I charge you with this sign. Mother and the night are mine. I invite you to come. Pyewacket.
This is one of those slow burn, creepy kind of horror movies that really sneaks up on you.
I've tried to weave this theme of that we are our own worst enemy and our decisions that we make, but such an innocuous, such a little decision she made unraveled a disaster, which happens in many people's lives in different ways. So
Just open the door.
And what I love most about it is how unsettling it feels. The atmosphere is heavy and dark, with a foreboding sense of dread that is ever present. And the tension builds throughout, so when things finally hit, you really feel the impact. And Nicole Munoz is really fantastic in this role. She does a great job of taking you on this ride of emotions that her character goes through. She feels authentic and grounded in a way that makes the horror even more intense because you can really empathize with her character. But this is a dark, psychological, witchy kind of horror movie that I think is definitely worth adding to your list.
It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault!
As Above, So Below is a 2014 found footage horror movie, written and directed by John Eric Dowdle. It stars Perdita Weeks, Marion Lambert, and Ben Feldman. When a team of explorers venture into the catacombs that lie beneath the streets of Paris, they uncover the dark secrets that lie beneath the city of the dead.
Tell me we didn't just go in a circle.
It's exactly the same.
No, everything's upside down.
What happened to the entrance?
Wait, there's something here.
This This movie is so damn good. It is one of my all-time favorites, especially when you're talking about found footage. I mean, the setting alone, the Paris catacombs, are just terrifying and perfect to set a horror movie in. And this movie takes full advantage of the location, really leaning into that claustrophobia. So it's disorienting and genuinely scary.
As above, so below is apparently the first rule of magic. And it basically means, as I believe the world to be, so it is. You know, the things that are going on inside of me are the things that I'm finding outside of me. And you know, it's the first law of magic, apparently. Like, there's something, I don't know, really beautiful in that. And we love the idea of somebody searching for something that they realize is not so much outside of themselves as they initially anticipated.
And what I like most about this is how it feels like an adventure on the surface. But then slowly, as the movie pulls you in, it feels like you're descending into hell. It's just suffocating in its approach. It leaves you questioning what is reality, all the way until it ends in this shocking, brutal way. But the scares in this are earned. They're not just cheap jump scares, but ones that actually get to you and really stick with you. Because this is one of those movies that'll linger with you and you'll think about long after it's over. This is a weird, creative, creepy little movie that's definitely one of the best when it comes to found footage, and absolutely worth your time.
You only murdered boys.
I go both ways.
Jennifer's Body is a 2009 black comedy horror movie. Directed by Karen Kusuma, it stars Megan Fox, Amanda Seyfried, and Adam Brody. A possessed high school cheerleader turns into a succubus and specializes in killing her male classmates.
This isn't really your house, is it?
We can play mommy and daddy.
No way.
This movie has had such a wild turnaround over the years, because when it first came out, people just really didn't get it, and it just kind of was forgotten for a while. But now it's finally being appreciated for how smart and sharp it is, and gaining a real cult following. But the dialogue is witty, and the performances are outstanding, especially from Megan Fox. She just absolutely kills this role.
I thought to myself, all right, I want to write something that genuinely scares me. What do I find scary? I thought zombies, yeah, kind of. Ghosts, I guess. But teenage girls, scary. I think the most intimidated I ever was in my life was when I was being bullied by a girl in high school. So I thought, all right, that's it. I'm going to write a horror movie about girls. And the cannibalism, you know, it's so ripe. You know, the metaphor.
Right.
The emotional chaos of being an adolescent, sexuality, the transformation of puberty is kind of paranormal in a weird way. It just all made sense to me.
But it's a lot more clever than your average teen horror movie. The way that it mixes humor and gore and the commentary, it makes it really stand out, especially for this era. It's stylish and actually really funny in a perverse, twisted kind of way, and actually pretty badass. But if it's been a while since you've seen this, or if you've never seen it, I think it's a real blast, especially this time of year. So definitely add this one to your list.
McConaughey, Christian Bale. Reign of Fire.
Reign of Fire is a 2002 post-apocalyptic sci-fi thriller. Directed by Rob Bowman, it stars Matthew McConaughey, Christian Bale, and Gerard Butler. A brood of fire-breathing dragons emerge from the earth and begin setting everything ablaze, establishing their dominance over the planet.
How did they go from 1 to 1 million in less than a year?
Okay, this movie is just awesome. I am sorry, I don't care what anybody says, I think this movie is just badass. And it's a trip because as time's gone by, it kind of seems to have been forgotten. And yeah, it's not straight up horror, but there are definitely some scenes in it, especially the stuff with the dragons. It gets pretty terrifying. Also, I think the effects hold up really well, especially considering when this movie came out. Plus, the action is exciting and really intense. And the post-apocalyptic setting feels haunting and mysterious. But I mean, just the concept in general of this feels really unique.
There's a very thin line between what's scary and what's kind of funny. A bad horror movie, the teenage girl sees the monster and she does the big classic horror scream. Well, we laugh at that now. So what is the right reaction for a person who's scared? Now, I use the idea that when we actually get scared, we don't express anything at all on our face. We actually sort of freeze, adrenaline goes through our veins, and then your instincts kick in and it's fight or flight. You know it's a monster movie coming in, so you're just waiting, when are we going to see it, and what's it going to do, and how does it kill, and how horrible is it when it does kill? And I think that's a very, very important thing in a good scary movie is right up front, you have to show the capabilities of the killer. And then being very careful about how you manage that expectation through probability, and that you only use it a few times. You gotta be careful. You don't overuse it, because if you fool them enough and you don't give them the monster, eventually you're just crying wolf. It's the way you present the creature, it's the way you present the characters and the circumstances. It's very strict adherence to the tone, which is realism, and knowing that the audience is saying, okay, I know dragons don't exist, but if you play by rules that I understand in my day-to-day life, when there's a killer on the loose and the police say lock your doors, he's working in Burbank, everybody's scared. So you don't ever have to see the murderer. If you go to a family who's sitting inside their house with their windows locked and the blinds are on and, huddled around each other, and you see that they are truly genuinely scared, we already get an impression of the killer. And so what I'm utilizing as a storytelling device is what I say, expectation, anticipation, possibility, probability. You don't have to go to the next step, which is it shows up and eats them. You just get them to that point to where they're literally, white knuckling because they're dead for certain that something bad's gonna happen.
Oh God.
But what I think really makes this movie so much fun is the cast. Seeing Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey go at it in this over-the-top, fiery survival story is worth a watch alone. But it's also grim and gritty and has a ton of spectacle. So if you're looking for a monster movie that has a ton of action and lots of fire, this is a definite must-see. So I went into this with low expectations, not expecting much. I hadn't even really seen a trailer, I don't think, and so I wasn't expecting much. Great. But what I really appreciate the most about it is how it balances the tone, because it's funny and lighthearted, but also has some moments of really intense horror and survival.
What really drew me to the project was the idea of being able to play a character across such a large period of time. We meet Amy when she's 17, and so she's fresh and wide-eyed, she's innocent, and then when we come back to her, 7 years have passed and the apocalypse happened, so she's a very different person. Society is fractured. Everyone's in their small groups, their small colonies, and they either live underground or, like us, we're protected. We have high walls surrounding our colony and a lot of reefs on the beach, and yeah, everyone's just fractured. And that's what's so beautiful about Joel's journey, is that he comes across all these different people and kind of collects things on the way and collects them, so to speak.
It's one of those movies that's just really easy to enjoy, because even if you're not someone that normally is into apocalyptic stuff, I think with a bowl of popcorn, you'll have an absolute blast.
Or she'll rip your tongue out at the seam.
Dead Silence is a 2007 supernatural horror movie, directed by James Wan and written by Lee Winnell. It stars Ryan Quanten, Amber Valletta, and Donnie Wahlberg. After his wife meets a grisly end, a young widower returns to his hometown to search for answers to her death.
She was murdered. The men cut out her tongue. And this town has been plagued by death ever since.
So this was an early James Wan movie that was made right after the success of Saw, which he was also partnered up with Lee Winnell on.
The puppet from Saw was so popular, James and I looked at each other and went, well, the real star of Saw was that puppet.
Dead Silence is definitely very heavily influenced by the old British Hammer horror films of the 60s and 70s, you know, like where it's more about aesthetic, it's more about like a tone and mood. And you know, and those films did have a bit of blood and guts to kind of creep you out, but you know, you kind of use it sparingly. You use it, you know, at just the right point as opposed to just from start to finish. You know? Like a lot of horror, like a lot of today's horror film tends to be.
But this one has never really gained the same level of attention as his others. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is somewhat of a cult following for this, but not anywhere near the success levels of some of his other movies. But I think this one is a bit misunderstood and really underrated. It's creepy and atmospheric with some fantastic imagery, and the ventriloquist dolls are pure nightmare fuel. Also, the sound design is incredible in this. Part of what makes this movie work so well is how it uses silence, literally, to build the tension. It's stylish and eerie, and has one of those endings that people still talk about. But I think it's the tone that gets people, and part of why it's misunderstood. Because it's campy and weird, and there's just a strange vibe to it in a lot of ways, like one of Wan's other films, Malignant. Because that's another film where you either loved it or hated it, and there wasn't a lot of people that were in between. And I get it. It's just not for everyone, and that's fine. Not everything has to be for everyone, because it's a weird movie as well. There's a lot of campy strangeness, but for the right audience, this is a fun one and definitely a great choice this time of year. Twelve Monkeys is a 1995 sci-fi thriller. Directed by Terry Gilliam, it stars Bruce Willis, Madeline Stowe, and Brad Pitt. In a future world devastated by disease, a convict is sent back in time to gather information about the man-made virus that wiped out most of the human population on the planet.
12 monkeys, they're the ones that spread the virus. Monkeys.
He's been living in a meticulously constructed fantasy world, and that world is starting to disintegrate.
You haven't become addicted to that dying world? No, sir.
He needs help.
This one is such a trip. It's part sci-fi, part psychological horror thriller, and it just gets under your skin. And Terry Gilliam's directing style really makes it look so unique, with this strange off-kilter style that makes you feel uneasy the whole way through.
I was doing things not just because they're visually strong, but to intimidate the character of Cole, to make the idea of time travel a thing that you don't want to do unless you have to, unless you're so desperate, unless it's a chance to escape from imprisonment, whatever. So the whole thing should be frightening and disturbing. And in a sense, what I was trying to do with the future is to make sure that nobody knew for sure, and they don't, whether it's a construct of his mind or whether it's real. And it had to be that kind of ambivalence and ambiguity all through it. But it had to be something that disturbed him and disturbed us.
And Bruce Willis is fantastic in this. He just has this beaten down, broken man style about the way he performs that is really believable. But holy shit, Brad Pitt is incredible in this. He is so over the top, so memorable and weird in this movie. But the story is both tragic and mind-bending. One of those well-written stories that really sticks with you. And there's so many phenomenal visuals in this, stuff that is very memorable, especially when they're in the future. It's just really creative. I also really love how it plays with time and paranoia. And so it keeps you off kilter while also making you think as it takes these twists and turns throughout the movie. And it really keeps you locked in with this dark, unsettling, foreboding vibe. So this may not be straight up horror, but it is unsettling as hell. And one that I think is definitely worth checking out, especially if you've never seen it.
Are you there? Are you there? Yes.
Ouija: Origin of Evil is a 2016 supernatural horror movie, directed and edited by Mike Flanagan. It stars Elizabeth Reeser, Lulu Wilson, and Annalise Basso. In 1967 Los Angeles, a widowed mother and her two daughters add a new stunt to bolster their seance scam business by inviting an evil presence into their home.
What are you doing? I'm not doing it. Stop it!
I was truly blown away by how good this is. But I shouldn't have been, because anything Mike Flanagan does comes out amazing. It's just the first Ouija was so forgettable, just a very mid movie. But Flanagan took this material and elevated it and made it into something that's actually chilling.
Let's begin. We invite you into our circle. If that's you, give us a sign.
When it comes to any movie, I look for something at its core that everybody can relate to, and that desire to have a connection with our loved ones, with our friends who have gone before us. I think every single person on the planet can relate to. And to put this flat piece of wood down in front of you, as simple as the alphabet, and say all it takes is to use this instrument and you'll be able to achieve that connection. It's one of those things that seems so too good to be true. And so, especially in the case of these movies, it certainly is.
Also, the period setting looks great and adds a lot of style to it. This feels like a real family, and you care about them because of how well written and well performed it is by this whole cast. And the scares in this, they're done with this slow burn dread that gets under your skin. But this is creepy and tense and way better than you would ever expect from the Ouija franchise. But this is one of the best modern day possession movies, and absolutely one to not skip. So do yourself a favor and check it out. Sleepy Hollow is a 1999 gothic supernatural horror movie. Directed by Tim Burton, it stars Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, and Casper Van Dien. Ichabod Crane is sent to Sleepy Hollow to investigate the decapitations of 3 people, with the culprit being the legendary apparition, the Headless Horseman.
We have murders in New York without benefit of ghouls and goblins.
You're a long way from New York, Constable.
This is Tim Burton doing gothic horror at its finest. The production design is stunning. The sets, the costumes, the atmosphere, it all just screams spooky Halloween for me.
What we really tried when we went into this, we tried to not rely too heavily on sort of post-production effects. That's why we built all the sets, and so that, you know, it was very important for us to have the actors, you know, feel like not acting to a blue screen, and you know what I mean, so that that we can make it feel as real as possible. And so that's why we tried to just shoot as much of it live, and then just sort of mix in a few effects to try to, and then, you know, so it was hard to tell when things were what. And so we really tried very hard to achieve that, so it felt, so that the film had a more present quality, so it felt more weird in its real in its own context.
And Johnny Depp is quirky and fun, while Christopher Walken is terrifying, menacing, and unforgettable as the Headless Horseman. He really is a very memorable horror villain in this. The whole movie has a mix of creepy and playful vibes that Burton does so well. It's stylish and bloody, with this outstanding fairy tale meets horror theme. It's just magical, especially this time of year when it's starting to get colder outside and foggy. Well, at least in most places. Still in the 90s where I live, but I know in most places, especially back east, in October for sure, it'll start cooling down. This movie is just so perfect for the Halloween season. So to me, this movie is timeless and a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun, and I'll see you all next time.